Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages. It's Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things straight through a common sense lens. And we've been running around here arguing for a very long time that the Walt Disney Company is broke, right? Whether it be the billions of dollars that Marvel has lost at the box office, or the billions of dollars that Disney has lost with Marvel on the streaming service, or the billions of dollars that Disney has lost with Star Wars or all of their other kind of television shows, whether it be on their or the movies, or anything else that they've been doing or mass producing, the comics. I mean, everything that Disney has produced has essentially lost money over the last few years with the exception of a couple of things like Deadpool and Wolverine, Inside Out 2, Moana, and some of that other kind of stuff. Or not, Moana, and of course Lilo and Stitch. Other than that, Disney is in the hole and have been for a very long time. Bob Iger has admitted how much money they've lost over on streaming over the last few years at their own earnings reports. And boys and girls, because of the decisions that the executives have made and the creatives and the storytellers that have been happening and been coming out of the Disney Corporation, whether it be Marvel or Star Wars, has now been confirmed those massive losses because once again, Disney, after Bob Iger saying that all of the layoffs were done and that we were finished and we were going to be a proper, sleek machine being able to go forward and produce good quality content and get rid of all the excess, well, it turns out, as usual, that was another lie, and even more people have now lost their jobs because of the decisions that people like Bob Iger, Kevin Feige, and Kathleen Kennedy have made. And now we're talking hundreds of more people out there being fired. And as the headline here points out, this is just shortly after over the weekend, Tony Gilroy confirmed that Disney executives have flat out told them that streaming was dead and the company was broke. And this is just another sign that confirms that, ladies and gentlemen. All the detractors out there say, no, Disney's doing fine. Their parks will keep them afloat forever. They'll never change. Nothing will ever get any better. Nothing. They'll never go bankrupt. Well, guess what? Even if I do agree with the sentiment that the Walt Disney Company will never go actually bankrupt, we do know that there are drastic cutbacks for going on inside of the company. And this is just the latest round of layoffs that show that, yes, the Walt Disney Company's path and its direction that has been going down for the last few years, if not arguably a decade, is failing miserably. And now more innocent people are losing their jobs. So we're going to share this article from cosmicbook.news, getting all of the juicy details of exactly what is going on behind the scenes and some of the executives that also have been laid off as part of this deal as well. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing, we are inching our way closer and closer to 2K. We are literally like 3 or 4 subscribers away from it, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Does it surprise you at all that the Walt Disney Company is actually being faced with another round of layoffs? Does it surprise you at all that after all the decisions that all of these executives have made completely and totally driving this company into the ground, that more innocent people are losing their jobs? Or did you actually believe Bob Iger when he said it last year that they're finally done with all their layoffs and that they are officially good to move forward? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. Also, let us know if you think this will be the last round of layoffs we see from the Walt Disney Company going forward. And if you'd like to support the channel, please check the links in the description down below. Think about becoming a member. So from cosmicbook.news and our dear sweet Matt McGloin, Tony Gilroy was right. Disney Plus is broke, and now people are paying the price. People outside of the executives that are in this list of people being fired, the majority of these people are just, they're just the low-level kind of people. They're just the grunt kind of workers. They're just the yes, sir, we do as we're told kind of people out there. And it sucks for them to lose their jobs because of extremely bad decisions that these executives made. You have all these people out there can argue and they can hate on all the fans out there. Oh, you're just a bunch of haters. You just want to hate on things. That's why all this stuff's failing and yada, yada, yada. We weren't the ones that made these decisions, right? We're the fans that made it to where George Lucas's Star Wars was a money printer, whether or not he was releasing movies or not. There was a fan base out there that kept that thing into a money printer go brew, all of that kind of stuff. It's the same thing with Marvel. We're the fans that made these things billion-dollar successes. We are the fans you have decided to ignore, and in that process, we've decided to ignore you. That's why these things have failed. Don't blame us for just being a bunch of haters. Blame the Disney executives that made these creative decisions and made these choices. They are the reason people lost these jobs, not people like me and mine. Less than 24 hours after I pointed out how Andor creator Tony Gilroy revealed Disney told him streaming is dead and budgets were gone, it's come out and been reported that the company has now laid off hundreds across its TV and film divisions. All places, all things that sometimes end up at Disney Plus. According to Deadline, the sweeping cuts hit by Disney Entertainment, television, and filming market teams, television publicity, casting, and development. film marketing teams, the people that probably decided to help market our dear sweet Lightyear as the gayest Pixar movie we'd ever seen. Television publicity, the people that tell you to go out there and talk about all of the things and how it's the gayest Star Wars ever. Those kind of people. Casting. Yeah, the people that made those final decisions on whether or not you race swapped or gender swapped somebody. Those people out there that made decisions on whether or not you hire a BIPOC person or something that actually fits the lore of the character and is actually the best fit for them. Yeah, those people. And development. Yeah, all the people that came up with the genius ideas for things like the Acolyte and Echo. Yeah, those people out there, those kind of folks over there. So yeah, needless to say, unfortunately, some of these decisions maybe were forced upon them, but it doesn't sound like we're losing a lot of people that were really doing much good behind the scenes over there at Disney. Disney television development and casting ranks were gutted. Among the names out, Eric Salvini, a VP of casting, 20th Century Television, behind 911, which I've heard good things about, but it's not really my cup of tea, and American Horror Story, which for the most part, I've really loved. So sad to see Eric go, but hey, them's the bricks when you work for a corporation ran by our dear sweet Bob Iger. Tony Thompson, VP of Content Development at Hulu Originals. I mean, we've seen some of the stuff that's ended up at Hulu recently, right? We've also seen some really great things come out of Hulu lately, though, as well. So, yeah, that's the way things go. Additional execs include executives from ABC and Hulu's drama teams. So, yeah, the people in charge of developing all of their new television shows, all of their new stories, and everything else. Yeah, bye-bye. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Like I said, a lot of these people included in like this essentially 300 people that we've reportedly heard have been laid off. There's probably a lot of good common sense folks out there that had nothing to do with these extremes, but we've also are going to see a lot of people responsible for the abominations we've got out of current Disney and Disney Bob Iger Corporation. And so guess what? They're gone. So if anything, it sounds like more of the activists might indeed be getting purged for the Walt Disney Corporation. Does that mean they're actually going to be able to turn things around and give us good quality stories again? I don't know, but at least it's a sign of move in the right direction. While some had contracts expire or left for new jobs, the timing and scale are clear. Disney is downsizing everything not tied to the theme parks or sports, which surprisingly enough, at least for now, the theme parks are one of the places where they're still more profitable. Obviously, we'll have to see how all of that works out with Universal Studios is opening up their Epic Verse now that it's open and going, and we've seen some of the lines and some of the empty parks with Disney since that is open, so we'll have to see how that turns out next year when they report on their parks doing. And of course, sports. Duh. ESPN, football. I mean, the only reason Bob Iger was able to say to a straight face to his investors that their streaming services were profitable is because they combined Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN all under the same guide in order to make it look like it's profitable. Of course, sports are profitable. I mean, football, seriously, I'm not a big sports guy, but I know these things are hugely profitable. So, of course, the sports and the theme parks are doing okay. At Disney's annual shareholder meeting this spring, Bob Iger said the company would focus on adding new jobs, mostly tied to Disney experiences like theme parks. But television and movies are all drastically getting cut. Why? Because they have lost billions of dollars, if not tens of billions of dollars over the last few years for the Bob Iger Walt Disney Corporation. This marks the fourth major round of layoffs in just 10 months. Following the shutdown of ABC Signature, the merger of scripted teams, and deep cuts at Nat Geo and FX. CEO Bob Iger originally promised $7.5 billion in cost reductions last year, and he's still slashing. Oh, Bobby boy out there is trying to save his reputation and his legacy as Disney's CEO, which is supposed to be this golden era under old Bobby boy, although all he was really good at is buying things, of course, and wasn't actually any kind of creative whatsoever, and of course was the one that decided to walk the corporation down all of the identity politics nonsense. So he is literally trying to save his reputation and trying to save the company so he doesn't go out as probably one of the worst CEOs of Disney all time, because at the end of the day, no matter how much they try to blame everything on Bob Chapek, we know Iger never actually left. He was still pulling all the strings behind the scenes, and really was Chapek even there long enough to change anything after Bob Iger's almost 20 years of institutional damage to that corporation? Yeah, this is all Iger's fault. He's just trying to save his own rear end right now. Streaming, Bob Iger's brainchild over there at Disney Plus. once positioned as Disney's future, is now a liability. Even after a rare profit last quarter, the company is still cutting staff tied to Disney Plus, Hulu, and linear TV. Last year, Iger confirmed that streaming lost $4 billion for the company. As we've got into the streaming business in a very aggressive way, means they spent way too much money on something that is not profitable. We tried to tell too many stories. You also tried to tell a bunch of activist stories that, guess what, your fan base rejected completely and totally wholeheartedly. Basically, we invested too much. And honestly, I completely and totally disagree with this premise. This is just as an excuse to not admit that identity politics completely and totally destroyed and alienated the majority of his fan base that actually makes him profitable. There's no reason I would not watch 5 or 6 good Marvel or Star Wars shows every single year. I mean, as a content creator, I would love that. You're giving me you're basically giving me nonstop Star Wars and Marvel content to review, talk about, and promote because it's actually good. There is no such thing as superhero burnout. There is no such thing as streaming burnout or Star Wars burnout or whatever kind of excuse they want to use. It's bad storytelling burnout, hands down. There is no reason a lot of these Marvel movies cannot make a profit. There's a reason why a lot of these Star Wars shows cannot continue to actually succeed in the ratings. The problem is they have concentrated on identity politics storytelling and not good Star Wars and not good Marvel. I guarantee you, if they were faithfully adapting stories from the EU and from the Marvel comics, all of this would be a success and they would be raking in billions in profits. Instead, they decided to go with Dave Filoni's ideas and Kevin Feige's ideas of identity politics nonsense. And now you've seen what you've got. A $4 billion loss, Bob Iger. But of course, you guys don't ever want to talk about the giant identity politics elephant standing in the room that has actually been what the destruction of your company has caused. The timing of the layoffs, days after Gilroy said there's no money for shows, raises questions about what's next. Ahsoka Season 2 is still moving forward, but The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew have both flopped. On the Marvel side, shows like Ironheart and Wonder Man are also looking like major busts, which follows the big flop of Daredevil Born Again, which I think Daredevil Born Again is going to end up being a far better show than Wonder Man or Ironheart. Those things are going to be disastrous dumpster fires right from the beginning of it. Mostly because nobody cares about Wonder Man. Nobody even really knows who he is from the comics. And Ironheart is nothing more than a race-swapped, gender-swapped version of Tony Stark. So yeah, needless to say, the fans aren't exactly going to be interested in that. You can actually already make the case that Disney has made cuts to both Marvel and Star Wars. If we went over in the previous article, there's no doubt about the budget cuts. The budget for Daredevil Born Again Season 2 doesn't look to be any better. Agatha, Echo, Daredevil, all of that stuff flop. This comes after Marvel and Feige spent hundreds of millions of dollars on each show, such as She-Hulk and Secret Invasion. And nobody has also tuned in for Miss Marvel. All shows that they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on that failed miserably in the ratings. Not only did they get obviously a bunch of fan criticism, but they also got a bunch of critics criticism. The people they generally cater to for this kind of stuff absolutely despised it as well. Star Wars is no different. Kennedy and Lucasfilm wasted hundreds of millions of dollars on The Acolyte. In turn, nobody watched Skeleton Crew. The Mandalorian Season 3 was also ruined. As a result of all of these failures at Marvel and Star Wars, Iger said he would be pulling back on both Marvel and Star Wars, which indeed has been the case. And now hundreds of more Disney employees have lost their jobs because of the decisions creatives like Kevin Feige, Kathleen Kennedy, Bob Iger, and of course, the dear sweet soy boy Dave Filoni himself. They decided to dance with the devil and now they've gotten burned. And it's burning the corporation as a whole. It's probably burning and causing the loss of jobs for a bunch of innocent people out there that had no process whatsoever in the creative decision. Also, based on the people we do know that did indeed lose their jobs, it's also a bunch of people that were responsible for all the activist storytelling nonsense that completely and totally destroyed the Star Wars brand and the Marvel brand. At the end of the day, is any of this stuff going to get better because of all these massive cuts? Maybe a little bit. But at the end of the day, the source of all of these problems is Bob Iger, Kevin Feige, Kathleen Kennedy, Dave Filoni, and all of the rest of their ilk just like them. And until those people are gone, things will never truly be able to turn around because the Marvel fan base is burned out. Marvel is dead just like Star Wars is dead. And it's because of these people and the decisions they made with their storytelling that has resulted in all of that. They have lost tens of billions of dollars on streaming and television because they decided to bet on a modern audience that does not exist in any kind of significant number to actually make them profitable. And at the same time, alienating all of their traditional fan base that has made them profitable for literal generations. Disney, you have done this to yourself. You have lost billions of dollars, Bob Iger, Kevin Feige, and Kathleen Kennedy. You decided to dance with the devil, and now you've gotten burned. Unfortunately, a lot of probably very good people out there that had nothing to do with those decisions whatsoever have lost their jobs. And this once again confirms that the Walt Disney Company, that Star Wars and Marvel have broke, and they have nobody to blame for themselves. Alienate, hate fans, call them ists and phobes, and completely and totally destroy the characters that they have known and loved for generations. And guess what? This is exactly what happens. Go woke, go broke, after all. And Disney definitely decided to dance with that devil, and now they're losing even more.